Beautiful fall colors in Baltimore. What a setting for some 49ers trade talk here over the bye week. And there's a player who's definitely more likely than other defensive linemen to end up on the 49ers by the time this trade deadline hits on Tuesday. It's on November 5th, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. back on the Pacific Coast. And that is Davon Godchaux, big 330-pound defensive tackle from the Patriots, the guy that just signed a 2-year contract extension with New England, but would not be a prohibitive acquisition for the 49ers from a financial standpoint because the Patriots paid a lot of his signing bonus, a lot of his salary through that signing bonus, and he would only count about $2.5 million against the 2024 cap for the 49ers. On top of that, they would have another year of team control in 2025. Non-guaranteed salary, though, for Godchaux that year, so the 49ers could decide what to do after this season. Listen, they could really use interior fortification. I wrote about it on the San Francisco Standard. The run defense is still not up to standard for the 49ers. They want this run defense to be closer to the top 10. They don't want it to be in the bottom half of the league. They haven't had a big defensive tackle type since DJ Jones consistently manned the interior, and Jones left after that 2021 season. I know they have Evan Anderson now. Evan is a player who just was promoted full-time from the practice squad to the 53-man roster. That's great. That's a capable body, somebody who's actually generated pass rushing productivity on top of the good run defense with that big frame. But you just need more. You need depth along the interior. And I think that Godchaux, he's been such an important part of what New England has done up front against the run. At that size, I call him fire hydrant weight. At that size, he can really be a productive player in the 49ers rotation. Now, they may still look for defensive ends. It's defensive linemen who they've always added at the trade deadline, right? We've talked about Jordan Willis, Charles Omenihu, players that weren't really on a big-time trade rumor radar, but guys who have fit well into the 49ers rotation. And when I went through what their D-line has done, they've gotten solid pressure from this group in terms of pass rushing, but they need more depth, especially since somebody like Javon Hargrave is hurt on the inside, especially since the exterior defensive line isn't particularly deep either. It really drops off after Nick Bosa, Leonard Floyd, and Sam Okawanu. But I think that Davon Godchaux there are reasons why he's been linked to the 49ers. It was Diana Rossini who brought this up again, but this is something we've talked about over the past couple of weeks. I think there are reasons why we point to him as being a nice logical fit for the 49ers on the interior. In Baltimore right now, the Thames Street Oyster House. Awesome place because it was an awesome lobster roll. You know, I've been to Baltimore a few times. 49ers played here last in 2019. I think it's going to be a couple more years before they play in Baltimore again. I had never seen Fells Point, which is the neighborhood where the Thames Street Oyster House is. And next time that I'm going to be in Baltimore, I'm going to stay here. Shout out to Elliot. Shout out to Isabel. Shout out to their dog, Truly. They're hosting us here in Baltimore for a night over the bye week. They just moved here a little bit ago. And some of these neighborhoods with the fall colors that I'm talking about, absolutely gorgeous. Anyway, 49ers offensive line. Promised I'd talk about that. Colton McKivitz, he's from back east, West Virginia. That's where he went to college. He's playing a lot better than people give him credit for. And right now, the 49ers are looking for a bargain on that defensive line market, right? If they can find a player at a cost that doesn't deplete their draft capital but improves their rotation along the defensive line, doesn't have to be a top-notch prospect along that defensive line. It has to be somebody that they feel can be a solid contributor for a good cost. The 49ers are going to do it. In the offseason, knowing that they had to pay Trent Williams, knowing that the offensive line had to, establish some consistency to get better from its version in 2023, the 49ers re-signed Colton McKivitz, extension for less than $6 million per year, which is about 25th percentile money amongst offensive tackles. He has performed much better than the 25th percentile. He's a well above average run blocker. And look at this. When the 49ers have put Colton McKivitz on an island, when they've trusted him in single protection, when they haven't needed to give him help at that right tackle position, he has scored in the upper right of this chart. X-axis shows how often an offensive lineman is on an island. Y-axis shows how often he's won those assignments. Trent Williams is in the upper right, so is Colton McKivitz. That plus McKivitz's ability to deliver in the run game has been absolutely massive for the 49ers. So this is a player who's improved greatly from one year to the next. Second year starting at right tackle, shored up the 49ers right side of the line. It's an ambidextrous line now. We see the numbers that I wrote about on the Standard with the 49ers line above average in run blocking across all 5 positions. Much better on the right side. I think Dominic Pooney has helped Colton McKivitz a lot. A lot of people say, why aren't they trading for an offensive lineman? Well, it's because their offensive line is playing well. John Feliciano doesn't have to start yet for the 49ers because the starting 5, collectively, this is an above average unit. They're number 8 in cumulative offensive line rank when you look at some of the pass protection metrics across all the positions, and Colton McKivitz is part of that. So don't look for the 49ers to have to trade for an offensive lineman at a time where this offensive line has improved. They have invested in that position. The investment has paid off, and I think that it's much more likely that they look on the defense, especially along the defensive front, for reinforcements. Now, another name, Elliot, who I'm staying with, brought it up. He said, hey, Jeffery Simmons, he's with the Titans. The Titans obviously aren't good. Jeffery Simmons is one of the most underrated defensive tackles in the league. Elliot said, how about Jeffery Simmons? Aren't the 49ers interested in him? I'm sure anybody should be interested in Jeffery Simmons if they're thinking right in the NFL. But the problem is he's recently re-signed with Tennessee. He's signed through 2027. I don't know if the Titans would want to get rid of Jeffery Simmons. And it cost some money too. He's got some big salaries moving forward. However, you can never say never at the NFL level. 49ers went after Christian McCaffrey a couple years ago, paid off. Now they've got that hole in the middle, especially with Javon Hargrave out, although they expect Javon back by the postseason. Somebody like Jeffery Simmons would make the 49ers a whole lot better up front. A defensive line that's been solid pass rushing, but needs more juice from its depth, and which needs to be better against the run, because as we say, stop the run to have some fun. Yeah, Jeffery Simmons would help, but he is probably not a realistic target for the 49ers. Never say never, but say that Davon Godchaux is a much more likely option for San Francisco ahead of this November 5th trade deadline.